But if art collecting is your jam, you will be really excited for our next presenter. We'll just go back over here for a second. So last year, Halcyon and Nina O'Neill of Monochrome Collective introduced an art fair exhibition to the By the People Festival lineup. It took place in a vacant retail space in Georgetown and featured 51 DMV artists from across diverse media, ages, career levels. And so we were really looking forward to the second installment of this year and making it bigger and better and all these things, but coronavirus had other ideas. However, we are really, really thrilled to announce that we'll be relaunching this exhibition in June, completely online, in the hope that we can continue to connect artists and collectors even during this time of isolation. So the open call for this literally launched this morning, and we will post the link to the submittable application in the chat. All DMV artists are welcome to apply. Again, the exhibition will be online. The dates are June 11th through the 28th. And we have some really awesome plans for digital programs throughout and some really fun opportunities for collectors to connect virtually. But I'm going to quit talking and turn this virtual floor over to the one and only Nina O'Neill, founder of Monochrome Collective. Hi, Nina.
Okay. Hi, everybody. You have essentially given the first 4 minutes of my presentation, so thank you very much for speeding through all of that. Hi to everybody. I'm sorry we don't get a chance to chat, but it'd be a very noisy room otherwise. The chat is open, so I'm very happy to answer any questions that come up, any ideas that you have that you want to chat with me about. I'm ready to go. I'm also very available, nina@monochromecollective.com, so send me an email along the way. So the quick and dirty about Monochrome Collective. I started it, the business, after 20 years of experience working in the arts in DC with the focus and purpose of matching people with artwork. This shouldn't be a complicated concept, but to some people there is this emotional, strange barrier that you aren't an art collector until you can swipe for a certain amount of money. And collecting art means buying artwork from people who made it, and that's it. So I want to try to create opportunities, as Nicole mentioned, working with Halcyon and other organizations to try to make it a pleasurable, easy experience for artists to sell work, to be connected with collectors, and to kind of bridge that gap, be the glue in the middle. So Monochrome is a full service art consultancy working with individuals. If you have a very empty office that needs some attention, bring us on to help find work from artists who are making beautiful, meaningful pieces that really speak to you. The work behind me is one of my favorites by Gary Krett. It's a drawing, and it's got a lot of amazing stories of the individual pieces in them that are just vases that were part of his kind of family history that he has rendered in a beautiful way that they're kind of abstracted, and it makes me happy every time I see it, which is the purpose of having objects in your space. So we're trying to do that kind of Marie Kondo concept, but we don't care how many things you have. Fill your walls. So let me quick say thank you to Halcyon for including me in the stellar lineup. I'm really excited that all of you are here participating in this. It's really great. Again, questions, throw them in the chat, and we'll talk about this later. So first off, let's talk a little bit about collecting. So Nicole mentioned that we're doing the art fair this year, which was a huge success last year, really great. And I think one of the most important pieces I want to come across to any of you who are artists, hi to all of you who are artists, or spending a little time during quarantine making work. The philosophy behind being an artist is really, if you make art, then you're an artist. Full stop. I made sure that in the application process, which is live, and we're going to put the link in the chat so that you can go check that out. The application doesn't ask you how many shows you've had, where you had your formal training. These are not requirements. If you make work, you are an artist, and that is it. So feel confident. We're going to go over some suggestions and some tips for marketing your work better a little bit later on. But for those of you who make the work, just be confident in what you make. So the art fair, as we mentioned, it's going to be online in June. The application's available now, so submit your work and send it along. We're really excited to see it. As far as those of you who are collectors or are interested in collecting or kind of building upon this interest, some of you are sitting in beautifully curated spaces with work you've collected over decades. And some of you are sitting among blank walls, a bit more bare, but with the interest and possibly the means to be able to collect or kind of start an art collection or bring pieces in. A lot of collectors have asked me how collectors or want to be collectors or interested collectors. The finances right now are different for everybody. And with this stimulus check for some people, it feels like a lot of responsibility, and some people want to do good work with that. So some suggestions that I've had for collectors are, if you happen to have the means and it is possible to put aside the stimulus check or some of your stimulus check to support artists, we will have the art fair in June, and we look forward to helping you build your collection then. If you have an artist that you already love who you would like to support but haven't exactly figured out how to start that conversation, start the conversation. They're certainly not going to turn you away. If you know an artist whose work speaks to you, but maybe the perfect piece or the work that you want to add into your collection you haven't seen yet, build that relationship and become a patron of theirs. So approach an artist and say, I'd love to put this money as a down payment towards a future work that we could collaborate on, or something from a future show that might not be happening right now. Start the conversation and be open about it, because it's a cash flow is a complicated thing if you work for yourself and you don't have the opportunity to display work. So if you want to collect, this is a really great time to kind of choose your own adventure and build your relationships, and reach out to specific artists that you might want to know better and get to add their work into your collection. So now let's chat a little bit with the artists. I have some suggestions. One moment as I open up my presentation. I have some suggestions for how to, I don't know why I can't find this. There we go. Some suggestions for how to kind of tighten up how you present your work and present yourself in a more, we'll say, serious light. So let's talk a little bit right now. Holler if you can't see this well, but art and marketing. So this is really just how, as an artist, we can take advantage of this time to make the connections since we're far apart and build some art collections with your work. Okay, question number one. Who are you? This is a really complicated thing if you are not an established artist, or you hold on just a moment. You're not an established artist, but you're kind of doing this as something that is a passion project. It's really important to take yourself seriously. And I think the first step to all of this is naming your business. And when you name your business, staying on brand. So I made a very conscious, very lengthy process to name my business Monochrome Collective. I wanted words that evoked sensations of something artistic, but also something that felt like it meant collecting, it meant being a part of something, it meant being a group, that you were not alone buying work and adding to your collection. So it's important to really think through this process. I could have called it Art Finding by Nina, and I just didn't feel like that really gave the sensibility that I wanted to get across. So a suggestion that I have to everybody is really just refer to your artistic practice professionally. So when you present the work that you're making, come up with the name. It can be your name. It doesn't have to be something different, but now is a time when you can spend a little bit of effort going on the back end of things and thinking through how you present your work and how people know you versus your art. Taking your business seriously. This is something that should make a little bit more sense to people, but you know, it's complicated because artists often take the time to think through the enjoyment of the creative process, but not necessarily the specifics of materials and time and effort and skill. So I think a really great way to begin with this whole process is changing the way that you talk about what you make and talk about how you make. So instead of saying, oh, it's just my creative outlet or a hobby or something that I do, it's your artistic practice. Once you start thinking about things in a different terminology, in a different sensibility, I think it really makes a difference on how you are presenting yourself. Here are other examples, stuff that I've made. I'm sure everybody said that. Anybody who's made anything says, oh, it's just some stuff that I have laying around, or a stack of sketches from college. Truthfully, there is a narrative, there's a history to it. It is a body of work. It has evolved over time, and so have you. And I think that's an important piece to really focus on while you're thinking about the work that you've got in your home. Okay, so don't give friends what clients pay for. I say this a lot. I think I'm not telling you to absolutely never give away work, but this is a really important thing to think about, to really quantify what, qualify and quantify what you've made. These are objects that you made with skill and talent that other folks don't have, that has a value, financial amount that can be placed upon it. So giving it away, associate that with the money that it would be, that you could get from somebody else, from a stranger. And that's a really, it changes the way that you think about handing things over and adding things into friends' collections. They're certainly going to love them, but you really got to think through what if I were to sell this? What would it be like? It changes the way you treat your work. Now more so than ever, our virtual presence is incredibly important. We're not physically available to go to parties and talk for ourselves about our business. So think a little bit about your artistic practice and how you and your artwork is presented online. Where can you be found? Do you have your own website? Is it purely something that you've got put together on Instagram? Is it through your personal Instagram account? Do you have work up at a gallery show? Make sure that there's some consistency in the way that you present all of your work. You should have, if you haven't put all of these things together, let me know, we can work on it, but a statement about how and why you create, a CV if you've had shows in the past so that they can see your progression and how you worked, and some installations, which is just really important to be able to show how your work kind of exists in a space. Images of work it's a tricky thing now. I want to mention that next Friday, I'm going to be collaborating with photographer Kate Warren, who's based in both DC and LA. She's going to be putting together a tutorial we're going to host around 2 o'clock next Friday through Halcyon on how to properly document your artwork, since you are by yourself in your home with your iPhone. How to really take good images of your work to be able to get the point across so people can see it in its best light, literally. And also, I mean, inviting the internet in too, this is so important to be able to view artwork in its best light, to understand how it exists in a space, to see it in a setting. These are important pieces to put together for those folks that are going shopping for you, for your work online. Mystery over mess. I always feel like a little bit of mystery is not a bad thing, that it's important to be able to be selective about what you tell about your story online. So, you know, take advantage to go through and have a few people look through your website and figure out what about it really tells the story you want to tell, and pull out anything that's confusing. Less is truly more in this instance, because the internet can only know what you tell them about you. So personally, representing your business to the fullest is your own responsibility. Making sure that you're your number one brand ambassador, right? Does your personal presence online help or hurt your artwork? I can't think of a lot of examples of how it would be a huge problem, but you know, anybody can find access into your personal life online. So thinking through very intelligently what you present is very important. And if you have any questions or concerns about work that is available, information that is available about you, clean it up. If there's artwork that is in a series that you've completely moved on from and you feel like doesn't really speak to your abilities or what you're working on now, remove it. You're in control. So how does the internet see your art? Does it look its best? The one of my favorite tips to give people, those artists that create work that is usually shown behind glass, for example, like a drawing or a pastel. If you're photographing the work and you're hanging it on the wall and you just can't find the right angle because there's glare everywhere, just take the glass out of the frame. Pop the glass out, take your photos and put it back. Your eye does a lot of work that a camera can't to capture, to kind of eliminate glare. So images really speak volumes when it comes to presenting your work online, especially as things are now. We don't have the opportunity to be able to see things in person. Online shopping for art, it's online shopping. Everyone knows how to go online shopping. We're probably doing it more than we should right now because it's what we have available. So please think that through too. You certainly don't buy jeans if they look bad on the mannequin or on the model. So take advantage of presenting work in its best light and making it look beautiful and inviting and enjoyable, and giving it a little bit of scale and space and really just showing it off to its best. So how can I find you? Let's say I found your Instagram account and looked at some images and I see some detail shots that look great. I'm really interested in finding you. And then the link to your Instagram account goes to something unrelated. And there is no contact me page and I Google you and I can't find you. It is so important to think through all of these kinds of encounters. You should, if you don't already have a website, think about that. If you do have a website, please make the contact portion easy. It shouldn't be a complicated process to be able to find people. Your Instagram equally should be clean and tidy and easy to find somebody. You should, think through that people are coming to you as an artist to look for work. If it's all pictures of your dog, that's great. But if it's pictures of your dog with the artwork, that's even better. So really think through the kind of duality of presenting yourself and your work and make sure that you're easy to get in touch with if somebody was interested, because there's that window of interest that we've all experienced as consumers that if it were faster and you could click a few more times, you'd scoop something up. But if you add a couple more hurdles, it's just a little too complicated and people are going to skip and move right on. Okay, I'm interested. How much? So artists often post kind of process photos or maybe even completed photos of works that are done on Instagram, for example. And then, I'll send a message and say, this is wonderful. I have an idea to be able to show this to a client. How much is it? And then there's nothing and crickets. Once you make it, you should always think through next steps. You should put a price tag on it right away. Granted, some people don't have the ability to think through, for example, if you're a painter and you always paint in a particular style and it goes by size, or you change by materials, or pricing by how long it takes you to make it. There are a ton of different ways that you can create a rubric for being able to price your work. But if you create in multiple media and it's just complicated to price it, find a way to create your own format and go with it, because nothing is worse than just feeling like you're, as a consumer, standing there waving money saying, this is perfect, I'll take it. And then, well, I'm not exactly sure how much it costs and it might not be done and I might want to keep it. Or if you post something to your artist's page and are interested in selling it, be interested in selling it. Take yourself seriously enough to have pricing on it, and start the conversation. Do not be scared that what you say is going to run them off right away. What you pay for art, what you would pay for your artwork and what a consumer would pay for your artwork are often wildly different numbers, because all you're thinking about often is material and time and how many episodes of whatever you were watching and how much time that took. And this is an unfair way to treat yourself. Your work is valid, and that carries a substantial price tag for your talent and effort. So move along with that. Because truly, you never know where your patrons are. You never know who's scrolling through and sees it. You never know who might send a friend a picture. You never know who might see the picture behind my head and say, well, that's nice. I would like to see more by that person. It is always an opportunity to sell work when you present your work to the universe. So you never know where your patrons are. You should always be prepared. If you don't think that you are worthy or adequate, it is false. It is time to shake off the imposter syndrome. You are absolutely worthy. Your work is incredible. And art is, what is beautiful is different for everyone. So there is a market for what you're creating. So again, if you make art, you're an artist. Act like it. Treat your work seriously. Be professional. And be your own advocate. It is, no one's going to celebrate you if you don't celebrate yourself. You don't need representation also. It is wonderful. Galleries are incredible. It is great if a gallery scoops you up, but that doesn't mean that you've made it at that point. And it doesn't mean that you haven't made it before that. You don't need gallery representation to be a real artist. You are an artist if you make artwork, period. Okay, so my pep talk now is over. At this point, really, all of these hurdles that I've discussed and rattled off very quickly, I understand, you put them there. You put them in the way. You put the pictures of your puppy and made your website crazy. You made it complicated to get in touch. You are the one that says, oh, it's just a pile of work. Stop doing that. Take yourself seriously. And other people will, because your work is worth it. Okay, so I'll just put this up for a second for anybody who wants to see some recap information too. Again, I mentioned I'm very accessible, very easy to get in touch with. My website is very easy to find me. So on Instagram, it's monochrome.collective, Nina at monochrome.collective.com. The website has a lot of information about how Monochrome works with you and with your businesses. So get in touch if you've got ideas for projects. If you are interested, if your interest was piqued about submitting work to the art fair, the link is live and I look forward to seeing your work as it comes through. If you have issues with taking photographs of your work or would like a little refresher on the best ways to take pictures of your work in your space, please join me and Kate Warren next Friday for a tutorial. We're really excited to be able to give some real world suggestions, which are a little bit bootleg, but that's kind of where we are at the moment. So we're just taking good pictures of what we have. And again, follow along on Instagram. If you have questions along the way, send them. Let's see. My recap notes.
Nina, we have a couple questions in the chat.
Great. I'm ready.
So one we have here is, I feel like collectors have imposter syndrome too. Will artists be offended if a collector asks them if they have any price point?
It cut out a little bit, but I think you said at a lower price point. Is that it?
Yes. So
yes.
If a collector knows they have a certain price point that they're looking for, is it rude to ask an artist like, hey, do you have anything in this range?
So I don't think it's rude at all. Everyone responds differently. I would pivot how you present your question, and rather than saying, oh, everything you have costs $1,000 and I only have $500, I might say for example, hey artist, I really like your work and I would love to support you. The budget I have right now is $500, but I would like to use that to begin to collect one of your pieces. Could we use that as a down payment towards something? Do you have anything that I would be able to purchase up front like that? Or can we use it towards something a little bit broader? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, I do think there's something with extremely lowballing anybody, an artist, really not taking their work very seriously. I don't think that's very considerate. If all of the work costs $1,000 and you say, I will give you 25 bucks because I know you need money right now, that's offensive. But I certainly don't think it's a bad thing to open the conversation and be willing to hear feedback from the other side, from the artist as well.
Awesome. Another question we have here is, what is your favorite part of the art collector's consulting process and like helping someone through that journey?
I like making the weird sentimental attachments. I mean, discussing with an art collector why they want to add a work into their collection. They're often unifying threads that they don't realize in their space. There's a certain shade of bright blue that everything they've bought has, or everything happens to be a painting that's taken place in Italy. It's hard for people to focus on the details when they look at their space, and then being able to help them add in work that fits in with that by somebody, especially somebody that I've built a relationship with. That's really powerful. I enjoy that so much.
I think Joanna was asking about price point for the June art fair.
Joanna is my sister. Hello.
Hi, Joanna.
I didn't plant her, but thank you so much. We're trying to keep the price point really broad. Again, like, it's a great question to say I don't have what I would think of as art buying money. You do. And last year we had pieces that were $100. Monochrome really focuses on keeping originals at the forefront of art buying. So prints and multiples in a low edition number, 15 and under if possible, but really making sure that collectors know confidently that they're buying unique artwork that was created by individuals. So that doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars. We started at 100 last year, and I'm really excited to see what works come through this year, to see where we end up starting.
So we're talking about the 5/1 documentation event, which we're all super excited about. We are figuring out some of those final details. So for anyone who's wondering where that registration info will be, when we send the recap for today's recap email from today's event, we'll make sure that that registration link is included, and it'll be a Zoom chat again. So super simple. Let us see. I think that we're pretty much at time. I hope that everyone found that super helpful. I know I learned a few things for myself. I'm not even an artist.
I feel like every time I do a presentation like this, everybody goes to their Instagram and erases a few pictures. It's important, I think, no matter what, to present the whole person. And right now my toddler's in the basement. There is a lot of complicated, with my husband, there's a lot of complicated bits and pieces to everyone's lives. And it's not a bad thing to share all of that, but that doesn't diminish the work that you're making as an artist. So make sure that you let that continue to rise to the top and be at the forefront of your mind, because making art, you're an artist.